Erfrischt und mit vollem Bauch begrüße ich Sie zurück zu unserem Selection Day 2023 mit unserer Top 50 Auswahl der diesjährigen Deviche Award-Anwärter. Gerne möchte ich die am Nachmittag neu dazugekommenen Gäste, sei es hier vor Ort oder natürlich auch im Livestream, herzlich willkommen heißen. Mir scheint auch, dass unterdessen die meisten Rock'n'Roll-Düfte verflogen sind und wir den Raum mit Innovationsgeist und ein klein bisschen Taschin füllen durften. Immer wieder bin ich fasziniert davon, wie der oder die CEO es zustande bringen, eine Theorie in Praxis zu verwandeln. Denn eine gute Idee mag zwar spannend sein, wirklich gesellschaftsrelevant wird sie aber erst, wenn Menschen sie zum Leben erwecken und somit auf den Markt bringen. Nur eine auf dem Markt funktionierende Idee kann auch der Gesellschaft und somit ihren Menschen dienen. Deswegen freue ich mich sehr, dürfen wir heute Nachmittag weitere 23 Ideen und aber vor allem auch die Menschen dahinter kennenlernen. Nun möchte ich aber gar nicht mehr Zeit verlieren, denn davon haben wir heute bei diesem doch sehr strengen Programm wahrlich nicht sehr viel. Da auch am Nachmittag die meisten Startups auf Englisch präsentieren werden, werde ich nun ebenfalls wieder in die englische Sprache wechseln, um kurz unsere Spielregeln zu erläutern. Every startup has 3 minutes to pitch ideas live here on site. After that, they will get 1 or 2 questions by our foundation board and experts. After this event, our jury will be choosing our top 15 for this year. Please be aware, this is a live event. We might have some last-minute changes. Didn't happen so far, but there still might be some coming up, and we will announce them live here as they come. Our first presentation block this afternoon will be a mix of 5 different industry clusters. We will be switching between clusters in between. I believe that should be it, and after a short introduction video, we will get started right away with Marie Didier from Mathis. Let's get the afternoon started.
Hi everyone. Ever since I was a kid, I was told to focus on one thing, but I didn't want to, because I love art, I love music, I wanted to have some adventure as well. I was a firefighter for 10 years, and I love science. So I was perseverant, committed, and passionate. And I think it is then that my entrepreneurial spirit started. I wanted to build bridges between community, create something meaningful with an impact. And I think it is how Matisse was born. I was bridging science and art with my 10 years of experience and my PhD in physics. And when I was working at the National Gallery of Art in Washington, D.C., I saw what the art market was needed. The restaurants, what they wanted, and from my physics background, I knew how to solve it. So at Matisse, we tackled the art market. Why? Because there is a lot of problem in the art market. So when you go to a museum, sometimes you see a cartel written attributed to. It's not from the painter, because 50% of the artworks in circulation are fake. And art now is not only used as a beauty, it's also an art asset class for investment with a high return on investment. And of course, high return on investment, risky. That's why art authentication is crucial. Nowadays, experts are conducting analysis with their naked eyes, often missing precious hidden information, leading to misinterpretation. Sometimes they mandate external service provider for scientific analysis, but it's not adapted to their daily use. That's why we created Matisse. We put in hands of the art expert this multispectral high-end technology coming from the physics market. And with our machine learning-driven technology and algorithm, we can extract the digital and chemical fingerprint of the artworks. That gives the art expert access to pigment identification and what's underneath the paint layer. We store all this data into our end-to-end encrypted solution and database, on which we can do blockchain for investment, tracking, anything you want. So we target a market that is always growing, and with our innovative business model, we created something that can be a scalable business and profitable business in 2 years. So at Matisse, I believe that we can have an impact on this unregulated market that is the art market, always growing, and the biggest unregulated market in the world. And together with my team, we will make it happen. So thank you. I'm Marie, CEO of Matisse.
Thank you very much, Marie. Are there any questions from our foundation board and experts for Marie?
You probably need to feed the system before so that it knows what is working, what if that's a true painting of so and so or not. How do you do that? I mean, how many paintings do you have already in the database, and how do you come upon building that up?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. So when sometimes some of our competitors are doing exactly what you are saying, what we are doing is actually focusing on the material. So we are training algorithm with our restorers and the University of Bern for restoration conservation on material, pigments analyzing, and also like infrared images. So we have like the largest database in the world with us of pigment, old, new, and rare pigments, and that's how we can do machine learning.
Thank you. I believe there's one more question. Guy Böttiner, please.
Yeah, what is your competition?
Competition, yes, there are some. And some they are mainly for this, as I say, external laboratories, in those laboratories, because they didn't find a technology that is portable. Ours is portable, and also a business model that works for any size business, for art experts, institutions, museums, and things like that. So they are technology, but us, what we use is like latest technology for LEDs and a combination coupled with our software we developed. So that makes us unique on the market.
Thank you. One last question.
Nobody else is using that.
Sorry?
From your competition, these technologies you mentioned, you're really the only one who used that.
We are the one that we created this illumination-induced multispectral technology, yes.
Okay. Thank you very much, Marie. Thank you. Thanks for the presentation. Yeah. We will now continue with Olivier Gröninger from Open Versum. Welcome to Solothurn, Olivier.
So, good afternoon, everyone. I hope you already had a good lunch with a nice glass of clean and safe drinking water. Unfortunately, unlike us, 2 billion people on this planet do not have the choice but drink water that is contaminated with feces. But why is that? I mean, we have plenty of technologies that could easily solve that problem. On one hand, we have products that are not adapted to local needs or are too expensive. On the other hand, we have a broken supply chain. So these products fail to be applied and shipped and maintained to the last mile. That's why we at Open Versum, during my PhD at ETH Zurich, I developed a drinking water filter with a novel membrane technology that comes at a lower cost, is highly efficient as it removes bacteria, heavy metals, and pesticides, and doesn't need energy to run. But the best part of it, that this filter is locally manufactured, but from our local entrepreneurs. So these local entrepreneurs make the filter and sell it on the ground in the local communities. By also making the maintenance, they have a recurring revenue and therefore a sustainable business. And by incorporating our platform, we are already able to scale without being physically present. What we could show in our first pilot, where we scaled from Colombia to Ecuador without setting foot to Ecuador. So how can you become an entrepreneur? If you have successfully went through our pre-training, we will provide you a business in a box with all materials and tools that allows you to make and sell the filters, and also to track your sales and do all the finances. And as you make revenue, so do we, allowing us to break even by early 2025. In addition, we lift people out of poverty. We bring millions clean water, and we save tons of CO2 because people now don't have to boil their water anymore. Our team combines two realities between Colombia and Ecuador. And even though we have different expertise, we share one common vision, which is to empower entrepreneurs to improve the lives of their community, So time is running because climate change increases the global water problem. But the good thing is we have the team, we have the technology and the business to provide millions with clean and safe drinking water. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Olivier. Thank you. Yes, Felix Grisa, please.
I think it's a fantastic thing, but there's so many filters out there in this world. And what really differentiates yours to the other ones?
That's exactly what I thought when I started my PhD. So there's so many technologies, but why it doesn't apply? And there we have really these two factors. So the product related from the filter itself, we have a novel technology that we can produce way cheaper, the membrane itself, which means way cheaper, like 20% of the cost of the cheapest membrane than you can find on the membrane, on the market. On the other hand, it's then the implementation, so this micro-franchising, that we designed the filter that it can be locally manufactured and locally produced. So we have a local expert in place that makes the supply chain that it disrupted before.
And all is patented?
The process to make the membrane is now patent pending, yeah.
Okay, thank you. One last question, Christian Brandt, yeah?
When we look at the filter, it seems this is equipment you ship from here. So it's a kit they have to assemble. How much time it takes them to assemble that? It's nothing produced on site.
It is, some parts are pre-produced. So it's local manufacturing. For example, the big plastic parts is made by injection molding we're currently producing in Medellin, which is a large city in Colombia. And the membrane, as you mentioned, for itself, we are currently shipping. So actually the new technology allows local production, but membranes can be made on a roll and then it's easily shipped, and it doesn't meet a big volume. And then on place over the supply chain, we have either own offices or NGOs that will work, or other local partners that will store the materials and act as a supply chain.
Okay. Thank you very much for your clarifications, Olivier.
Thank you.
See you later. I'm now happy to announce Faisal Mamdi from Alter Ego. Good luck, Faisal.
Hello, everyone. So my name is Faisal. I'm CEO and co-founder of Alter Ego. But before being that, I'm a shopping addict. And turns out I actually never buy anything online. One reason, every time I bought something didn't fit, and then I had to return it. And turns out, in our scale, returning is quite okay. But at bigger scale, 1/3 of online bought articles are being returned. And when you return a single one of them, it has to be shipped back. Then it's usually just destroyed, or has to be fixed, cleaned, dried, and pass quality checks. And this operation costs a lot. For example, for a single article, the brands usually lose up to 60% of the origin value of the article. Therefore, leading in costs exceeding more than $100 billion every year globally. Also, they're not that green. They emit as lot of CO2. I'm talking about as much as CO2 as the Netherlands each year, and as much as landfill waste created as 5 million people every year. And for US shoppers, not at all the best user experience. You lose a lot of time going back and forth from the post office. So with Alter Ego, what we do, simple fix. We provide you with virtual fitting rooms. Out of one picture of you, we're able to create an avatar in 3D of you and extract all your measurements. And from that point, we provide you with 3D fitting. And how it works, super simple. It works all from the shopping platforms directly. You go to your favorite shopping platforms, you select your article, you have a button try with Alter Ego, then you log into your account. If you don't have an account, you create one, less than 1 minute. As we said, you upload a picture, we take care of the rest, and then you directly see the fit of your article on your own tailored avatar. With that product, we aim to reduce up to 40% of article returns in the long term. Therefore, directly cutting on costs of return operation, saving on CO2 and waste, and soon enough, saving on green taxes. We also aim to increase conversion for the brands by about 200%, simply by increasing time on site for shoppers and increasing customer loyalty. And last but not least, we help brands make better prediction by providing them with tailored data reports about their customers and unlocking new KPIs. Up to today, the team was mostly composed of Pietro Zulu and myself, both students in Master at ETH Zurich. Pietro, who is sitting here somewhere, is in charge of the product development and is acting as the CTO of the company, whilst I'm more in charge of the business development of the startup. We lately hired different engineers from EPFL and ETH, helping us to push forward the development of our tech. And since the start, we've been backed by many advisors from different industries, from which one of them actually developed a similar thing and sold it for quite a good price for a major retailer. We've made our proof through different startup competitions in Switzerland, such as Venture and VentureKick, and we've been backed and working in close relations to ETH Zurich. About the roadmap, quickly, up to today, our work was mostly to understand the real pain of the users and the brands and develop and adapt our pipeline of development to that. Now the pipeline is ready and we're currently implementing it. After our incorporation last week as Alter Ego Technologies AG, we're now starting our first pilot project and our first funding round in order to hopefully have our MVP ready to launch by this summer, and from there take it to integrating to more and more clients as we reach our goal for 2025 of working with 500 brands. Thank you for listening, and if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me either per mail, as you can see here, or directly here. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your presentation. Thank you. Are there any questions for Faisal? Please, Felix Grisar.
What is your competition?
So, great question. I'm clearly not the first one standing in front of you here talking about fitting rooms, etc. There's two main things. When you talk about a fitting room, you need the data from the user to create the avatar and extract the measurements, and on the other side, the data from the brands. So if we start by the data from the users, all the others are making it quite complicated. For example, you have to input your own measurements, and if I take my chest measurements here, and you take it here, we end up with different sizes because the circumference is way larger, so it doesn't really work. Otherwise, our technology using like LiDAR, so it's like really a targeted audience. But our main advantage compared to everybody is that we do not need the 3D models of the clothes. We just work with the data that the brands already have and that they are using for the production of their articles. So for them, it's no extra work, and it's the most frictionless solution they can have for that. And that's only possible since about like 1 year that we can use AI to actually like really simulate the clothes in that much accuracy, and that's our main advantage. And we're the only one proposing that at the moment, so.
Thank you. Is there any other question? Keep Bettina, please.
How does the business model work for you?
Yeah, so for the users, it's free, as we basically, our clients are the brands, and they would have to pay a fee that is basically based on the number of articles they add for virtual fitting. So the fee usually ranges from 1,000 francs for small brands that have only a few articles on their collections per each collection, and it can go up to 100K or more per month for bigger players like Zara and Inditex, for example. So it's really based on the benefits they gain on that also, because they get more benefits if they add more articles. So that's it.
Okay. Thank you very much, Faisal. Thank you. See you in a bit. Thank you.
Have a great day.
We will now switch to our ICT cluster block with Michael Glor from Corentix. Welcome to Solothurn, Michael.
Good afternoon. My name is Michael Glor, and I'm the CEO and co-founder of Corentix. Today, I'm going to talk about supply chain risks, a topic that has been in the media for quite some years, and I'm happy to give you a bit of insight in how we address this issue. After I left one of the largest global reinsurance company a bit more than 1.5 years ago, where I was working as a climate change lead, we started building Corentix with the vision to make global supply chains future-proof. Because we believe that with climate change and emerging sustainability risks, companies will see more and more costly disruptions, and they need to transition from a reactive mode in their risk management to a forward-looking proactive mode. And we support them by developing an innovative software that helps those companies to predict climate risks in their supply chains. And those risks can manifest themselves in various ways. A supplier can be affected by a natural disaster, such as a flood, or we see more and more supply shortages, for example, in the food agriculture sector, where deteriorating climate conditions lead to more and more issues in the agriculture productions. But we also see quite a lot of transport disruptions triggered by weather and climate extremes recently. And our software also helps to better understand those issues and predict them. And by using our software and by implementing our early warning systems, companies can achieve a significant cost-benefit ratio by avoiding such costly disruptions and being better prepared. For every $1 they invest in an adequate early warning system, they can save about $9 in the long term by avoiding those issues. And with our data-driven climate insights, they can really not just be better prepared, but they can also gain a competitive advantage because they have resilient supply chains that are future-proof. Our software is already used by various clients, for example, by one of the largest logistics companies, by consulting firms in the food and agriculture sector. But we also recently won a project for the government to assess supply security for important raw materials, for example, from a national standpoint. And what you see here is a project that we did for the coffee sector, where you can map a global coffee supply chain in our software and assess where climate impact drivers will lead to deteriorating conditions for coffee production, for the production of high quality Arabica coffee in this case. And the companies cannot just assess how they are exposed today, but also how climate will change in the future and will affect their global exposure in their supply chain. Since we started Corentix about 1.5 years ago, together with my co-founder Gandhi Halter, we built a great team, really with the vision to make supply chains future-proof and to help our clients to become more resilient. And we are already supported by several investors, but also, for example, by the European Space Agency Business Incubation Program. And of course, we would be extremely happy to also receive your support here today to build future-proof supply chains together. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Michael. Do we have any questions for Michael? Yes,
how
please,
much
Anna?
is consulting in your business today? I mean, if you take the example of the coffee product, I mean, how much did you provide versus the data and the self-analytics from your client?
That's a very good question. I mean, there is always a consulting component. That's why we also like to work with certain consulting companies to focus for us exclusively on the data and analytics part, the forecasting, the software development part. But we fully understand the climate risk and supply chain risk often has a consulting component in it as well. That's why we partner with them.
Okay, another question? Christian Brandt, please.
How do you manage political risk? Because many of these things are political decisions.
Yes, it's a very good question. And climate and weather risk is our niche where we start, and we definitely want to expand into other risk drivers, such as geopolitical risks. And of course, there, things might be a bit more chaotic, not as predictable as weather and climate. But there are patterns that you can learn from data that you can apply and create transparency on political issues. Ukraine is a good example where we saw early warnings for that as well several years ago that manifested now. So having that risk transparency is definitely something that we want to create, and that is also possible, not just for weather and climate.
Okay, thank you. I believe we have one last question. Sven Hoffman, please.
Are you earning money already?
Yes, we have several paying customers, expanding now. And definitely about 5-6 paying customers, also governmental customer now. But we are definitely looking for more clients, of course, growing our revenue stream.
But why are you considering yourself a startup still?
So we're 1.5 years old, I would say. We're still, I mean, we just fundraised as well. We're definitely, I would say, on a startup path, need to grow, need to expand our products to become significant in the market.
So you still need investments?
We just closed some investments. Yes, we still need investments. We're not profitable yet, but we make revenue. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for clarification. Yeah. Thank you. See you in a bit, Michael. Okay. Next up will be Raphael Briner from Visible. I think he brought something with him to show you. Good luck.
Good afternoon. Personally, I'm on a mission. I want to solve hybrid work. In the context of enterprise post-COVID, there is a big opportunity, which is to work half at HQ and half at home. I don't know if you are doing this today, but flexible work is one of the biggest revolutions at the workplace. And we are part of this. Demo effect, of course. We are enabling this, meaning a face-to-face experience and not face-to-screen. Basically, when you go to HQ, You want to see your colleagues in face to face, but once you want to talk to your colleagues, they are in a dead zone. They are on a TV, and you have to turn your head, and you spend 15 minutes, and then they are dead. They are not here anymore, like the skulls there. And so we put remote people exactly where they should be, in the center. And trust me, it's really giving superpowers to those people. It's rebalancing, it's having meeting equity. So we introduced this to the market. It's a premium product. It might appear expensive, but it's not, in fact, because the cost of having quiet quitting, the cost of having bad meetings is really expensive for enterprises. And so we have clients, FMCGs, big brands, watchmakers, industrial organizations. They understand very well the pain. They all agree that there is trust me, a big pain within organization about the technical aspect and ergonomic aspect. So we are preparing units that we will distribute in 2 months to our clients. And side to this, we are building also a portfolio. We have another product with another form factor for huddle rooms. And we are developing also the software part. Maybe you heard about ChatGPT. And basically, we are, sorry for the blue, but we are exactly in the right place to be a conversational device with ChatGPT and all other AIs that's going to come to the office. So with this, with GPU that will be inside for the computer vision, we will also use it to do the transcription software, encryption, security, and black box things in order to have compliance within typically bankers or insurances organization. And the market is moving to what we are doing. Here you have 4 cameras. So basically, we are the next generation because we come with the displays. We are the only one to do this. It's patented, 40 pages, US patent, and also a new ID that's going to come. We're going to secure this. My team is doing the manufacturing. I'm the designer. I worked for 6 years between Geneva and Brussels, and I suffered from hybrid working. And that's the reason why I understand very well the problem, the long-term problem of having that kind of distance between your team and yourself. You want proximity. And today, within organization, you have one core problem, which is proximity bias. You think that your colleagues who are at HQ are better than the people working from home. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Raphael. Thank you. Do you have any questions? Please, Christian Brandt.
I have a question. How does it work?
Hey, good question. It's the same display 4 times. So basically, it's acting like a second screen. You plug it to your existing system, Microsoft Teams Room or Zoom, and that's all. It's a peripheral. It's a smart, but
the person who talks, you see, or how is it?
Of course, I wish I could do a demo. I will do a demo later on. Like this, you will be able to see people. I don't have the mouse with me to know to solve the recuperation problem. That's a demo effect. So, but basically, it's people here, remote people, and content on TV. So we don't solve the problem with TV because you still need TV to display slides or Google Sheets or any kind of backlog or pharmaceutical innovation, whatever you want. It's just, this is content, and you want this for the conversation. So it's a conversation-centric, and you never display content here. You don't want, but the beauty is really to be able to look at your colleague, and it's alignment, you know.
Where is
question?
It produced?
Huh?
Where is it produced?
It's going to be produced in Geneva. We have our manufacturing, but later in US also. It's a small manufacturing needs. There is no miniaturization inside, so it's not complex. So that's the reason why we have our internal, and we have the Swiss-made stamp for that.
Okay, thank you. Please, Sven Hoffman, last
Is
question.
there competition?
Of course, large players. Very, very few startups in the field of hardware video conferencing. I don't know why. People are going all full on the software stack, but not on the hardware stack. It's not as big, but it's 20 billions of the market revenues. And of course, Logitech, we are in discussion with them. We are in discussion with all the key players. They are Cisco or players doing the same thing, but not the same thing. You know, it's like watchmakers. So we think we have the best option. on the table.
Are you patented?
Yes.
On what?
Oh, I can discuss
No,
this.
on production of the thing,
On-
or
on-
on the software, or
We go quite deep into the different contexts where it can be used. So it includes also various contexts. It's not only video conferencing, it can be also extended.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Raphael. Thank you. Thank you. We will now continue with Jean Bernet from Deep Light.
Good afternoon, everybody. So I'm the CEO of Deep Light, a company providing lasers for LiDAR ranging application, for sensing application, like LiDAR, detecting objects in front of an automated car, or for gas sensing, for example, to measure methane spilling on oil fields. So how did I get there? So I'm born, my family, they're all entrepreneurs, so I had to create my own company when I'd finished my PhD. And my first company was Atolite. It was a company providing a detection scheme for the semiconductor industry. We had to create the market, bring this tool in production line in the semiconductor industry, and it was hard. It took 13 years to get our first tool in a fab environment. So when I left after these 13 years, it was an achievement. The question was, what can I do? What's the next project? So I did some software, augmented, and I created an augmented reality company in the Netherlands. I'm on the board now, but what I wanted is to go back to hardware and mass production. And that's how Deep Light is born. And my goal, so what is Deep Light? So I met people at EPFL that were producing lasers that were big as this fingernail. Amazing technology. And what are these lasers doing? So you might think it's yet another laser. In data center, you have a lot of small lasers that are compact to do communication between the different servers. But if you want sensing lasers, high-end lasers, there's no solution out there. They're all built on legacy solutions, big lasers with lenses and so on. And at Deep Light, what we do, we come up with a laser that replaces this legacy laser, but on a chip. So it can be mass-produced at low cost. What's the point of doing all that? Well, if you look at, it's not a well-known market, but the fiber sensing market is big. It's a couple of billions. You can find fiber sensors using such lasers in all planes. Today, our targeted addressable market for a laser source is small. It's only $63 million. But I'm coming back from California, where we pre-released these lasers 3 weeks ago. And just the laser source has a massive impact. Everybody wants to buy them. So I have a backlog of 1,000 pieces of these lasers at $5,000 US. The question is, how am I going to produce them next year? That's the problem I'm having. And then, if we start vertically integrating, it starts being an amazing market because we start doing the detection on the chip. And that's where we want to go. Thank you.
Thank you, Jean. Are there any questions about jury? Please keep it in, yeah.
I understand this is a technology on the chip.
Yes.
How you bring it into the market?
So today we do business-to-business sales. So what we do is we meet customers on trade shows. So the first year and a half, we've been funded. So the whole development, we didn't need to raise any funds because we had early customers who paid for the whole development because they believed in the technology. So we got quite a lot of money to do the whole development. And we keep meeting, these are large customers, so they're well known. So we go, meet them, talk to them personally, and they are quite, one customer who buy 1,000 of them, it's 5 million revenue. And for the moment, we cannot do more. So that's how we get started. And then we'll see.
Okay, thank you, Sean. Yes, Alanico, please.
What are your constraints in terms of wavelengths, and is that a hampering factor for your commercial?
So the technology is based on silicon nitride, so it works from 400 nanometers up to 2.4 micron, so it covers the whole visible and infrared range. Today, we only focus on telecom wavelengths, 1550 nanometer, but in our pipeline and for other applications, too late, it's gone, for example, gas sensing, we can tune, it's pretty easy to change the wavelength. So we have already quite a few in our backlog, but today we want to sell what we have, which is this, and build a company, have solid foundation based on this laser first, before going to different wavelengths.
Okay, thank you. More questions? Great. Thank you very much, Sean.
Thanks a
See you
lot.
in a bit. We will now continue with our last ICT startup and Mostafa Khosrow from Minwave Technologies. Welcome to Solothurn.
Thank you so much. And hello, everyone. I'm Mostafa Khosrow, CEO and co-founder of Minwave. And I'm delighted to show you how we are going to change telecommunication at Minwave. There is an increasing demand for higher data rates every day. And the technology is actually coming with 5G and 6G. But the problem is that this will put a huge pressure on our infrastructure. It is estimated that up to 5% of the total electricity production by 2030 will be used in 5G infrastructure. At the same time, and this is 500 million tons of CO2. All of these systems has antennas and filters to receive the wave and filter the noise. And these two components can actually translate to heat up to 50% of the energy that system receives. These components are built with metals and ceramics today, and there is a trade-off between size and quality that you get. At Minwave, we are changing this trade-off by introducing metamaterial-based filters and antennas, a patented technology for the first time, which actually introduces components which are 10 times smaller and higher quality than the existing components. But how this is going to be translated to the real product? This is a product that we have introduced for 5G radios. Traditionally, for 5G radios, engineers are using ceramic filters, and this filter burns 2 times as much as what we burn in our filter. As a result, we have a filter which dramatically reduces the energy consumption of the radio. At the same time, it is cheaper to produce and also much more higher quality. And this will all be translated to tens of millions of cost saving for an operator like Swisscom. There are 500 million filters are to be deployed in the next year, and we are ready to present this technology next week in Barcelona Mobile World Congress as a venture leader team. The next wave of 5G is millimeter wave 5G. The challenge there is that because of the high frequency, it's even more challenging to filter the wave. With the filter that we have, we are not only 2 times smaller than the smallest filter in the market, thus we can be integrated in the chips, but also we have 3 times higher quality. There are billions of devices which are going to be using these types of filters, and we have been contacted already by big players, although we are early on in the development of this component. Last but not least, many of the infrastructure of the telecommunication is going to be moved into space. We started with space, supported by ESA. We are working currently with 2 players there to bring 10 times lighter components for the filtering technology. And given the fact that each kilogram which goes to space costs tens of kilograms, and this has a huge effect on the weight of the satellite by tens of kilograms, this will be translated to billions of dollars of cost saving for constellation satellites. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mustafa.
I didn't have the time, by the way, here.
I didn't have the time. I'm very sorry. I apologize. But you're right on time. 3 minutes. Perfect.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you. Christian Brand, please.
Beside Nokia and Ericsson, all the business is made by Chinese companies in mobile technology. So how is your innovation protected?
We have actually right now 4 patents, and 3 more patents will come. So number 1, we have patents, and we have already started working with Huawei. So if they're going to steal, I don't know. That's a possibility if you're mentioning that. But good luck if they steal it and then basically put the radio in somewhere that we can actually go against them. Hopefully, that's all we can do.
Okay, the component must be designed into a bigger system. What is your sales cycle? When do you can sell?
Sorry?
This product? What is your sales cycle?
Yeah, so as I said, we started with space, and space is slow. The typical sales size is 6 months to 1 year for typical component in space. We actually recently entered, we are a very young company, we're 1 year old. So we have recently started contacting telecom customers, and this is, we've not yet generated any sales in telecom. So I can't estimate that for telecom. But because this is going to be integrated inside the systems, that's going to be a bit longer than normal consumer products.
Yes, one last question, Felix Grisard.
You seem to revolutionize the world in your space. What can make you struggle?
Well, there are, of course, limitations to anything, right? What we have is a new design which enables much better components, but this design should be integrated, as I mentioned, to the systems, and the integration cycle takes quite a long time. That's one hurdle that we have, and yeah, so I would say up to this point we are more on development more than anything sales. So our plan is to basically expand on the sales activities for the next year, which is the second year of our activity.
Thank you very much for your clarifications, Mustafa. See you in a bit. Thank you. Thank you. We will now be switching to our Medtech cluster. A proud number of 16 Medtech startups have made it into this round. We will therefore be switching them into 2 blocks. After a short introduction video, we will get started right away with Tom Bertrand from Bearmind.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Tom, and I'm a co-founder of Bearmind. At Bearmind, we're tackling the issue of concussions in sports. Concussions represents a quarter of all injuries. We know that half of them go unreported. And more importantly, for our first customers in Swiss ice hockey, the cost of concussions is about 40% of their payroll in insurance premium. But concussions is a buzzword, and it's not the only problem. The real problem is the repetition of small to medium impacts on players. We know that today, this repetition of impacts can increase the overall risk of injury for a player, not only for his brain, but also for the body, and also decrease the performance of the player on the ice. And obviously, if he gets a concussion, it's a very long and unpredictable recovery. So we introduce our sensor. It's a combination of motion sensor and pressure sensors that we integrate into helmet. And here, in a match from Lausanne Hockey Club, our first customer, we can see that when such a hit happened, we can provide 2 information to the staff on the sideline. The first one is a live alert of a risk of brain injury so that the staff can assess the player. The second is a dashboard that they can use during the week with predictions on how the player is going to react to the hits that he gets on the weekend or at training. and therefore anticipate the loss of cognitive performance and perhaps adapt his training. Today, we have early adopters in the Swiss national leagues, 3 professional teams that are paying customers. The cost of our product is covered by their insurance companies, and they all participate in a clinical validation. It's about 1 million research project funded by InnoSwiss. Obviously, we won't stop with ice hockey. Our technology is adaptable to any foam and any helmet. Therefore, the global market of all helmet sports and industries represent a 15 billion worldwide market. We have a team of 7 with 3 co-founders, Mathieu Falbriard, PhD in motion analysis, myself, civil engineering master degree from EPFL and experience in project management, and also Benoît Mariani, who was a former founder of GitHub, who exited to MindMaze. We're currently working on the clinical validation and patenting the technology. We have a first patent application ongoing, and we're working with helmet brands to integrate next season everything within the helmet. We have secured 1.3 million out of the 2 million seed round that we're working on, and next season we are onboarding more teams before internationalization in 2024, 2025. After that, we will be able to diversify into different sports, but also to the consumer markets. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tom. Do we have any questions? Please, Christian Brandt.
Any special certification required?
So it's a great question because it's not required, but we're going for it. We want to be the first medical device for head impact monitoring. But today we see that our competitors are not medically certified. However, you need a CE mark to be selling hardware.
So competition is already in the market?
Only in research in US football, and they're using motion sensors, where we use a combination of motion sensors and pressure sensors. Slightly different, but yes.
Thank you. Any other questions? Last, yeah, keep it in, please.
From your presentation, I get that you sell the device on the helmet.
Yes, right now it's on the helmet, and for next season, we're working with helmet brands to have everything inside so that you don't see anything from the outside. But we don't do anything with the helmet. It's on the hands of helmet brands.
And how you then make money if the device is integrated in the helmet and produced by the helmet company?
There are different business models. They could either make money or we can sell them data so they understand how customers use the helmets and how they can improve the design and yeah.
Okay. Great. Thank you very much, Tom. Thank you for your presentation. See you in a bit. I'm now happy to announce Matteo De Bardesi from DeepSci. Good luck.
Thanks. Our mission at DeepSci is bring psychiatry to the 21st century. I'm Matteo, and I'm co-founder at DeepSci. So we are doing this because in the EU, we have 30 million people who are clinically depressed. The suicidality is the leading cause of death in young people. And this is something that I actually didn't know, that the cost to treat depression are almost as high as treating the cost of treating all cancers combined. So what's happening? Today, we are more or less guessing what is the right medication, what is the right treatment for a patient with depression. What we want to do, of course, is to find the right treatment to the right patient. And the good news is that actually we can do that to a certain extent, obviously. But yes, so what we do is we analyze EEG and we extract patterns that correlate with the effectiveness of a certain treatment or a certain medication. And what we do is we put this on a service and we offer EEG and ECG analysis as a service for psychiatric hospitals. So this is our core team. I really love our core team. We have the expertise that are necessarily, for example, from the From the clinical part, we have Sebastian Ulbrich. He's the chief of the Center of Depression of the University Clinic. Then we also have Enzo, he's our technology guy. And then we have Dr. Cheng, she's our EEG expert. And then we have me. I'm in the intersection of the different kinds of expertise. So our achievements, we always work very closely with the clinics. And we raised 420K. And our main investor is Christophe France. He's the president of Roche. And our main milestone ahead is getting the CE certification as a medical device. We have our product, and we also launch it in the meanwhile for pharmaceutical companies, and we close a deal for 20K. We envision a data-driven psychiatry with 3 main pillars: to earn money and collect valuable data, bring research to the market, and bring the technology to psychiatry. Many thanks.
Thank you, Matteo. Any questions from the board? Please, keep it in.
I'm not quite sure whether I got it, but do you have any evidence that this method actually works?
Yes, we have. So these are clinical studies that have been published in papers, and the people were interested in getting a doctorate or a professorship, and they were not interested in pursuing a company. And we took a lot of those research, and we implement now a company. Yeah. So, and maybe on the performance, today, usually between 50 and 60% of the patient respond to the first treatment. And by using our information, according to the data, it would be between 60 and 70%.
But the technology of EEC is around for quite some time. Why only now? Not 20 years earlier or 30 years earlier?
Okay, this is a good question. So it's about the analysis of the EEG and ECG. And the truth is also that some of the things that we use have been around for 5 years, more or less. And yes, the answer, I ask that question a lot to myself also. And I think the answer is that there is not so much communication between the people who are able to implement the technology and the people who need it. And this is where we came. We are in the intersection of the 2 universes, let's say, from the psychiatric and the technical.
Thank you, Matteo. More questions? Thank you very much for your presentation. Thank you. See you in a bit. And now I would like to introduce Maël Fabien from Biped. Good luck, Maël.
Good afternoon. My name is Maël. I'm the co-founder of a startup named Biped. About 2 years ago, I was doing a PhD in machine learning at EPFL, and I met a blind person who was struggling to cross the street. There are around, the clickers. Okay, sorry. There are around 2 million blind people in the US, 3 million in Europe, and for millions of blind and visually impaired people worldwide, daily mobility remains a challenge. I'm thinking, for example, about detecting obstacles that the white cane cannot spot. You know, low-hanging branches, traffic signs, windows even. But also think about fast-moving objects in city environments, electric scooters, bicycles, vehicles in general. And think about the fear of going from point A to point B alone with a GPS only. At the time, I realized that this is exactly what self-driving cars are solving. They're preventing collisions, they detect other vehicles with LiDAR or with cameras, and they follow GPS routes. So I met my co-founder, Bruno, at a hackathon, and we started to work on Biped. Biped brings self-driving car to the pedestrian level. It's a small harness that is worn on the shoulders that uses a set of super wide-angle cameras that can detect in real time all sorts of obstacles a couple of seconds ahead and provide GPS instructions all in one. The audio interface is very simple. The person hears a small beep as an obstacle is coming closer. You get a directional feeling also for where the sound is coming from, and you can play on the type of sound to reflect the type of obstacle. This is Ali, one of our frequent beta testers, who just heard the sound on the left and corrected his trajectory. Salio just avoided an obstacle in front of him, and of course, Biped is able to detect head-level obstacles with Pierre, who just turned 80 years old, and avoided low-hanging branches in front of him in the park. The software is running directly in the harness, and this is exactly what's happening in real time. Now, this might seem like a lot of information, but we only play a sound if there is a direct risk of collision, which allows Pierre to enjoy his ride in the park. Biped has been co-developed with over 10 partners, including the Ophthalmic Hospital in Lausanne or Medtech. 250 beta testers joined us in drafting this solution and bringing it to the market today. Medtech tested the solution extensively and said that this is one of the very best devices they were able to test. And more importantly, Ali, just like one of our many beta testers, highlights that it's a great way for him to have peace of mind. Now, in 2 years, we took Biped from an early stage prototype to an actual product, got Swissmedic approval, raised 2 rounds, and we are signing the first distribution agreements. And we want help also to promote Biped, put it in the hands of as many users as possible, and sign distribution agreements all across Europe. Thank you very much.
Thank you, man. Thank you. Felix Gizat, please.
How much does the product cost?
So we sell it for now B2C, subscription system for 129 Swiss francs per month. So this is how we sold out our first 2 batches. We're also thinking about a reimbursement process. So we have ongoing tests with the disability insurance for 3 years of subscription at once. So 4,600 Swiss francs.
Christian Brandt, please.
Technical question, does it also work in the night, or is it infrared, or?
Yeah, absolutely. So the cameras are stereoscopic cameras, so they can estimate distance, but there is also an infrared sensor. We actually integrate cameras from the robotics industry, but we paid attention to also using one that can work at 7 p.m. When you come, when you just come back home a bit later.
And resolution is okay, so a stick from a traffic signal you can detect?
Yeah, absolutely. Anything that is basically, so we do changes of levels also on the ground, so we can play on the pitch of the sound to say whether it's a head level or a ground level obstacle. And we do anything that is above 3 centimeters in general. It's still to be used as a complement to white canes, as you might have seen in the videos, because this is also very useful for signaling purposes, and we didn't want to remove this layer.
Last question, Felix, please.
It's really an interesting thing. Does it also reduce the risk of injuries? Because then it will be interesting for insurances to pay for it.
Yes, that would be the ultimate goal. We are a class 1 medical device, so we didn't have to prove any of this throughout the development of the product. But that being said, it's what we're putting on the next roadmap for a big usability test that we'll probably conduct directly in the US, because this is where we want to head next. We ship the first units as prototypes into the US, but FDA approval is going to be the next big chunk, and reimbursement will be key also for veterans in the US, so we'll estimate this.
Thank you very
much.
Thank you. We will now continue with Ralf Schumacher from Medtech. Herzlich willkommen, Ralf.
Dankeschön. Grüezi miteinander. Mein Name ist Ralf Schumacher. Ich bin Mitgründer und Geschäftsführer der Medtech GmbH, einem Spin-off der Fachhochschule Nordwestschweiz. Das Problem, was wir adressieren, kommt aus der Orthopädietechnik. Genauer gesagt geht es um Orthesen. Das sind Schienen, die bei angeborenen Körpergliedmaßendeformitäten eingesetzt werden. Unsere Patienten sind Neugeborene bis Jugendliche, teilweise werden die begleitet bis ins Erwachsenenalter. Diese Orthesen, die müssen all 3 bis 4 Monate gewechselt werden, und wenn man so eine Orthese herstellt, muss zunächst immer die Form dieser Gliedmaße abgenommen werden unter Korrektureingriff des Orthopädisten. Das ist mühsam, das ist dreckig, das ist ungenau und letztendlich dauert der Prozess auch lange. Wir ersetzen jetzt mit unserer Lösung diesen Gips durch ein Textil, in das Sensoren eingearbeitet sind. Und somit können wir in Sekundenschnelle sehr genau und digital diese Form erfassen und das über mehrere Anwendungen hinweg. Wir, das sind auf der linken Seite die Erfinder von dieser Technologie. Speziell zu erwähnen ist Thomas Rueb. Er ist oder war Orthopädietechniker in seinem Familienunternehmen. Dann ist Joris Pascal dabei. Er leitet die Forschungsgruppe an der Fachhochschule Nordwestschweiz zusammen mit den Mitarbeitern rechts oben, Corentin und Dominique. Sie arbeiten im Rahmen des InnoSwiss-Projektes an der weiteren Entwicklung zusammen mit weiteren Partnern. Rechts unten ist die Tochter von Thomas Rueb. Sie führt das Familienunternehmen in der 4. Generation und ist unsere Sparringspartnerin, wenn wir auch wieder Feedback haben müssen vom Markt. Ich war lange Zeit auch tätig an der Fachhochschule als Forscher, habe mit meinem ersten Startup Mimedis den Weg in die Industrie gefunden, habe das verkauft 2017 und bin seit Anfang des Jahres jetzt Geschäftsführer. Ich widme mich vollends diesem Projekt Belvaltech. Was haben wir erreicht? Wir haben schon zeigen können, dass man solche Gliedmaßen erfassen kann mit 400 plus Sensoren in diesem Textil. Wir gehen auch nicht davon aus, dass wir mehr Sensoren benötigen. Das ganze Recht, die IPs gehören uns als Firma, sind angemeldet, sind schon erteilt. Weitere Länder sind in Anmeldung. Die nächsten Monate werden wir Prototypen weiter verfolgen. Wir wollen unsere potenziellen Partner einladen, mit uns solche Tests durchzuführen, um dann auch den Finanz- und Investitionsplan vorzubereiten, damit man im Herbst, Ende des Jahres die Finanzierung angehen kann. Vom Businessmodell her, wir möchten das nicht selber auf den Markt bringen, wir setzen da auf Partnerschaften, wir haben schon mögliche Partner für das Lizenzmodell identifiziert und sie uns auch. Und vom Total Addressable Market gehen wir von rund 800 Millionen Schweizer Franken aus für Lower Limbs in den nächsten 10 Jahren. Besten Dank.
Herzlichen Dank. Gibt es Fragen aus der Jury? Sven Hoffmann, bitte.
Ich habe den nicht ganz verstanden. Wie groß ist der Markt?
Rund 800 Millionen in den nächsten 10 Jahren.
Also weltweit?
Weltweit, ja. Ja.
Danke. Gibt es Competition?
Jetzt mit dieser Technologie nicht, da haben wir das geschützt. Es gibt einige, die machen optische Scans für diese Gliedmaßen, aber das sind die korrigierten Hände immer im Weg. Das heißt, alles, was man eigentlich erfassen möchte, was interessant wäre, wird gedeckt durch die Hände des Orthopädisten. Das heißt, unsere Technologie ist da wirklich einzigartig.
Danke. Gibt es weitere Fragen? Alles scheint klar. Vielen herzlichen Dank, Ralf.
Besten
Danke.
Dank.
Bis später. Danke. We will continue with Thomas Lumpe from Breath. Welcome to Solothurn, Thomas.
Hello, everyone. My name is Thomas. I am the CEO of Breathe, and we want to improve emergency care for patients in low-resource settings. What you see on the next slide, what you see on this slide is the emergency room of a rural hospital in South Africa that we visited last year. And at the first glance, I think it looks like they're okay prepared for emergencies. However, when you have a little bit of a closer look, you see that that's not really the case. So most of these devices are broken, some are missing spare parts. So none of them are really in the situation so that they can support patients. What that actually means for the patients, we learned a little bit later. About 2 hours after I took this picture, there was a young woman who had just given birth to her baby brought in because she developed respiratory symptoms and needed care. If she would have been lucky, she would have probably been able to stabilize by the doctors. They would have been able to put her on a ventilator and transport her to the next biggest hospital. However, that woman wasn't so lucky, and neither are most of the patients in this hospital. She died even a few hours later again because simply the doctors didn't have the means to support her. And that's not an individual problem, but it affects millions of people in low and middle income countries every year, simply because they don't have access to high quality emergency care. And I think not only since Corona, we know that ventilators that support patients' breathing play an essential role in this. And not only that there are very few ventilators in these countries only available, the few ones that are available, they're first way too expensive, they're very difficult to use, they're not very robust, and when they're broken, they're very difficult to repair. So they end up on these medical device junkyards that you see in almost any hospital. But there's something we can do about this. So we want to change this, not only by dividing a ventilator, but providing a whole system around that. And we focus on three main things. The first one is, of course, the technology itself, where we really want to provide the ventilator technology that people need, nothing more, nothing less. That means it's affordable, it's robust, it's as easy to use as possible, and it's easy to repair. Second is education, where we integrate the ventilator into a system, an online training platform for both technical and medical content. And third, and for us most important, is collaboration. So we not only want to sell a device to people, but make sure that we include local people along the value chain, service and maintenance, and also along local production eventually. We developed several fully functional prototypes at ETH so far. Last year, we did a lot of traveling. We conducted usability tests in South Africa, Ghana, Kenya, where we collected a lot of positive feedback, not only from doctors and nurses, but also from technicians, distributors, and also hospital CEOs, so taking into account the whole ecosystem, and raised about 860,000 Swiss francs so far. Our team, that's me, I'm Thomas, Leonie, and Christos, with PhDs and experience in Medtech startups. We have our professors at ETH and medical doctors and designers from all over the world, as well as strong coaching support to complement our rather techie background. And to be able not only to provide direct impact to the patients, but really make sure that we have a long-term sustainable impact on societies, we focus on our three core activities, and by that we can lift up the quality and capacity of healthcare systems, grow local expertise, and eventually reduce the dependency on foreign medical devices by providing these services. And with that, I'll stop my talk, and I hope I could convince you that this is a global problem worth solving together. Thank you.
Thank you, Thomas. Do we have any questions? Alain?
Where do you stand in the formation of the company?
We're about to incorporate the company in the next 2 to 3 months. So close by.
Thank you. Sven Hoffman, please.
The patent situation.
So the product works as we use simple hardware, and the magic lies in the source code. So we take the magic in the software that makes the simple hardware work, and that's a trade secret for us at the moment.
Okay, is there any patent planned?
So it's in the software for us at the moment. No real patent on the hardware side at the moment, because you can imagine in low resource settings, there's a lot of copycats around. The hardware is not the thing that prevents people from copying this device.
And the IP belongs to whom?
To ETH at the moment, but that's no royalties involved because it's only on the software side. So it's a one-time payment, and we're in negotiation about that one.
Okay.
Thank you. There's one last question. Wolfgang Heutschi, please.
Which are the costs for one application and your services, for example, for education?
So the ventilator itself is around 5,000 Swiss francs. That's at the bottom end where the commercial ones start. They go up to 25,000. And the educational services are based on the online platform, so that mostly comes included into the offering. So the main revenue drivers are the ventilator and consumables.
Maybe one last question, Guy Pöttin, yeah?
Thank you. Basically, you're saying as the existing ventilator companies do a bad job because they don't have a model at the lower end range.
Yeah.
Or is there any significant difference in technology which enables you to produce it much cheaper? Or what's the trick there?
There are two things. We're focusing on the functionalities, and only the functionalities that are required. 80% of the functionalities that the expensive ones provide, they're not even far from being required in these settings. And the second one is the technology. So we have these hand resuscitator bags that we're automating the compression in the simplest way with a gearbox and a motor. So it's the technology and focusing on the key functionalities that makes it significantly cheaper and appropriate for these settings.
Okay. Thank you very much, Thomas. Thank you.
you.
See you in a bit. Thank you. And last but not least of this cluster block, I would like to announce Anna Rosenkrantz from Health Yourself. Welcome to Solothurn, Anna.
Hello everyone, my name is Anna. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Health Yourself. So every day, people are endangering their health and creating unnecessary costs by choosing not to use routine healthcare services, just because they do not want to go see a doctor. For example, about 4 years ago, I ended up in the emergency room with severe chest pains, thinking I was having a heart attack. What really happened was that I had been delaying getting an iron deficiency test for months because I didn't want to make the effort to go see a doctor. And my deficiency had gotten so bad that it was mimicking symptoms of having having a heart attack. Now, with that episode, while it cost me quite a lot of money and probably scared a few months off of my life, it did not leave any long-term health consequences. A good friend of mine, she did not get so lucky. In her 20s, she thought it was super uncomfortable to go to the doctor and ask for tests for sexually transmitted diseases. So she didn't do it, a chlamydia infection wasn't detected, and this has now led to irreversible infertility in her early 30s. Experiences like that is why we've made it our mission to eliminate the need to go see a doctor when accessing routine care by making these services available digitally and from home as self-services. So far, we're covering 3 services: lab tests from home, medication subscriptions, and personalized supplements. Let's see how that works based on the example of our first service, lab tests from home. So first I go to our web shop and I choose the right test kit. So for example, one to test for sexually transmitted diseases. That test kit will contain all the material that I require to take a sample at home. It also contains a unique code, which I use to activate the test through our online infrastructure, where we collect all the necessary information to be able to conduct a lab analysis. I then take my sample, put it in the return box that we also provide, drop it off in any mailbox in Switzerland. It will be delivered to our lab partner, analyzed, and I'll receive my results in an easily understandable manner 2 to 3 days later online. No need to go see a doctor. Eventually, our goal is really to be able to provide fully digital user journeys all the way from testing to treatment by combining our services. We already do this for vitamin and nutrient health. So for example, if based on a test, I figure out that my iron levels are low, I do not get sent back to the doctor's office, but I can immediately order my personalized supplement to address the issue, and then I will receive a reminder 2 to 3 months later to reorder an iron test to make sure that my levels are back in the normal range. How do we deliver our services? So generally, we focus on providing the necessary software and product infrastructure for the end customer, and then we integrate with partners along the healthcare value chain. Over the last 2.5 years, we have launched these 3 services and especially expanded our lab test offering quite a lot. So by now, we are addressing health concerns ranging from sexual, vitamin, and nutrient health all the way to allergies and prevention. We've also established key partnerships across the Swiss healthcare ecosystem, and most importantly, we've built a first customer base, so we're already making a real-life impact for more than 3,000 people. And just this week, we hit the 500,000 lifetime revenue milestone. Thank you very much, and looking forward to your questions.
Thank you, Anna. Are there any questions? Christian Brandt, please.
Hello.
Hi.
Is this working in every country like that, or only in Switzerland, or are there different regulations?
Different regulations on some parts. So on, for example, the testing side, we could expand it easily to Europe. We've already actually established an entity in Germany, but right now we're really focusing on the Swiss market, because at the moment we are largely focused on the out-of-pocket segment, and Switzerland is a really big self-payer market. So it's a really good market for us to get started, and then we will expand once we've also figured out reimbursement, which we are just starting to do.
Okay, at the moment there's no reimbursement from health insurance.
We're just starting the new first proof of concept at the end of the first quarter. So we expect that we will have our reimbursement strategy in place by the end of Q2, and then we will start also expanding into the reimbursement space in the second half of the year.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Guy Bettina, please.
Yes, for many tests, for example, iron deficiency, to my knowledge, you need blood, reasonable amount of blood. How you get this blood? At home with your syringe, or how this works?
No, so it's a very good question. We get a lot. So it's based on capillary blood. So what most people don't know is that most tests can actually today be done with capillary blood samples. It's just usually not done at the doctor's office, because for them it's easier to draw a venal blood sample. So for example, for iron, you actually only need less than 100 microliters. So that's more or less 2 or 3 blood drops, which you collect with a lancet on your finger. So you just stick yourself with a lancet and you collect it. It's quite established methodology. And right now we're actually working on integrating a device that you can stick on your arm. You press a button and it automatically collects 0.5 milliliter of blood. You don't have to do anything.
Okay, one last question.
Are there precedents of self-served analysis like that that are reimbursed without having a doctor prescription or some professional prescription?
So for the tests, that is indeed the case. We will need a prescription. So we have several models where we are looking at that, where we are actually creating a bundle. So for example, we are at the moment looking at launching an immunotherapy for hay fever from home, where there will be one module where you get a test and then also a talk with a doctor. So by buying this bundle, a doctor will also create a prescription for the test, and that should make it reimbursable.
Okay. One last question, Sven Hoffmann.
Can you protect that somehow, or how is competition doing?
So generally speaking, no, at the moment we cannot protect it. That is a big point. Our biggest moat right now is our partner network because it takes a long time to establish these partnerships, so like 6 to 12 months. And we are the only provider in Switzerland right now who really is able to cover the entire healthcare value chain. So that's our biggest moat. And the second one that we are working right now is reimbursement. There is no other provider in the market that has managed or even tried to go into reimbursement space.
But is it it's not yours, but a competitor in a different country as far as you are in Switzerland?
Well, there is one competitor in Germany, kind of. It's a holding company. They're called Welstra HealthTech, and they own several different brands, which if they would combine them, would also have the same capability or similar capability as us, but they don't seem to be making any strides towards that, so they're really at the moment holding them as separate entities.
Okay. Thank you very much, Anna. See you in a bit. Thank you. And with that, we're at the end of our third cluster block. We'll be taking a quick break of around 30 minutes and should be back here around 5 to 3 to be exact. Make sure to reach out to our startups. There is an online guide, a printed guide at the entrance with all contact details, so make sure to grab one of those. And not to forget, there's some homemade cake and coffee in the foyer. I heard the cake is great, so enjoy it and see you in a bit.